Ciao, benvenuti tutti. Siamo qui alla Ninja Show. My name is Heike and I have Gianni with me. And only because he has an Italian name, he doesn't really speak Italian. No, just kidding. We are not doing the show in Italian, but Gianni, I'm super excited to have you on the show. You developed a solution to help our Defender and Sentinel customers. But before we dive in there, introduce yourself.
So hi, I'm Gianni Castaldi. I'm a Ninja Cat, also a security consultant. I help customers with the Microsoft security stack, with Sentinel, with Defender, with the configuration. And yeah, basically help small customers, large customers, MSSPs, all mostly related into the Microsoft security space. Also a bit of Palo Alto, Tenable, even Splunk if the customer has it. But my main focus is helping customers with Microsoft security.
And that actually also probably brought you to developing the solution we're going to talk about. What was the challenge that you and your customers faced before?
Basically, what's the most interesting thing is that when you configure your Sentinel, your Defender, you make the security rules, you make the configuration, but there's no like proper checks on it. So if someone changes it, it might get unnoticed. If things breaks, it might get unnoticed. And also now with new legislations, you are required to have proper controls over your security stack. So to do that, you can use the APIs, but the APIs are a bit, it's not a security person or IT person doesn't always know, hey, we can do this with the APIs. So I made a solution for that.
Okay, so when you say made changes, what kind of changes we are talking about?
Maybe you make new detections, new hunting queries. Maybe you update a query because you made an exclusion. So for instance, Sunday morning alert triggers a lot of times, and then the SOC analyst thinks, I make an exclusion for this account because then it's out of the way for the weekend, and then on Monday we'll fix it, and no one picks it up on Monday because it's gone.
Well, this is awesome. So it means basically all the configuration changes, settings that someone in the portal does are now with the tool documented.
Exactly. So you have change tracking, you know what happens. It's
okay.
Proper management.
And this is for Defender and obviously then Sentinel in Defender and everything else in Defender. And what do customers need in order to use your tool?
So basically you need a GitHub workspace, of course. You need to have a repository where you can clone the project into. Then you need an app registration to have permissions, but we don't want to set up secrets, so we use the OIDC, so the federated credentials. So basically, you make a connection without secrets or certificates, set it up, give it permissions, and then you're good to go.
Okay, wow. So I assume we are not going to do all the setup steps, but have a look at the files in your GitHub project. And then I want to see it in action.
Cool. Let's do that. And this is my GitHub repository, and then SecMate, and then ContentOps is the name of the project. So as you can see, it's basically, you have to put up some license. I did Apache 2.0, so everyone can use this. You can change it. So please have fun with it. And then currently this is the whole repository. Also still some of my work documents, IDs, security, trademark stuff. When you scroll down a bit, we can see basically if you clone your own, these will actually also show your numbers. So basically you have the MITRE coverage. MITRE is of course a way to measure your security coverage. You have the TTPs, which you can monitor, and some instructions, what is shipped, and also a quick get started. So basically, hey, clone this, do this. Basically, if you run this, you're all the way from cloning it all the way to creating your first detection and deploying it.
And how does the connection work? So you are using APIs and you're basically removing the need for others to do this on their own and use the APIs, but your project used the API to get the data for the different configuration changes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So if you run this, you can read, you can write, you can do both, depending on the permissions you wanted to give, depending on how you set it up. You can do dry runs if you want to test something. But with this, you have a flexible way to get or just insights or management or both.
Okay, and then I see you also you also wrote down the permissions that could be used, right? So you grant those that you want to use. You could have optional others.
Yeah. So basically, like I said, you can give it read permissions. You can give it read write permissions if you want to deploy content detections. Also, maybe you want to split it. So you have like two app registrations, one linked specifically to the deployment part and one specifically linked to the rest.
When you say write permissions to maybe create something, like what was the intention for you to also include that?
Yeah, so basically, if you do the write permissions, you can also deploy things. So you can or pull all the content from your Sentinel, your Defender, and have it in the repository. Or you can also say, hey, if I make changes, I will do it from my repository and then deploy it to Sentinel. Or you can have both and then use like a drift check to make sure that maybe once a week that your detections in Sentinel still match the detections your team has built before.
Okay. So let's have a look how that looks like in action.
So basically, once you clone this, you'll put it in your repository. So this is, I just did a new pull. So now I have the latest and greatest in my own repository. And here I have all the files. We basically run a part of the script. So if you go to the repository, do the ContentOps, then you can have the doctor and the conformance. Those are the two you begin with once you've set up. So basically the doctor is checking, hey, is everything configured properly? You can see basically we have the Python, we have all the dependencies, we have an environment because you can have an environment file where you set up your secrets, your stuff you need.
How does it know where to go? Like, where's the tenant, the subscription, or whatever? So it's in that secret environment file.
You have the environment file where you have like the secrets and the stuff it needs to know. And we also have the configuration. So basically in config, we have tenant. So basically this is the non-secret stuff. So we have a production tenant. We have the tenant ID, we have it enabled, we have the production Sentinel workspace, we have the integration Sentinel workspace. You don't need both, but you can have them if you want the pipeline to test your detections before deploying. This is basically, integration is just for integration testing. And then we also have the Defender where it manages Defender settings. So this was test one, and then test two would be that we run the matrix, and that's a more advanced check to make sure that all the components are working. And this you can do to make sure that everything is working. So when this comes back, you can see it did the initial checks, but it also verified, hey, do we have access to the workspace? Do we have access to the Sentinel? In this case, it has some errors because I snipped out my workspace ID and I apparently saved it. So that's why it failed. So let's do it again. And now it's taking a second to make sure that everything was set up correct, that it's connected. And now, as you can see, with the current configuration, everything passed. We have connection. So this is working properly. My app registration is working. The configuration is working. We have 155 detections in Sentinel and in Defender. You can also see it below here. So this is able to connect to the Sentinel workspace. So if you would have cloned this repository in your own workspace, the GitHub Actions could do the same.
And now, how do you see what are these individual items? I mean, in the end, you would like to have a report, right? Like, what are these items? Do you have a command for that, or is there like a UI, or what is that?
You can have in the commands, we can see them in the reports. So basically in the reports, it's making an export of each day. So for instance, if we would open the unified, open with, let's do it the old school way. And this is where I spent a lot of time figuring out what people would like to see. So basically, once you have everything set up, this report will run every time scheduled from the GitHub action or when you run it, and you have several views. So in the executive summary, you can see, hey, how many detections do we have? Are they healthy? Do they have an owner configured? How many alerts you have? So this is some basic informatics.
So should this be 100% healthy?
Yes, in the end, this is 100%. For some reason, it shows as 0. 0 need tuning, but this is also still my test environment, and we need to change things around a bit. So then you have the minor attack coverage. You can see how many detections you have, how many are active, how many are silent. So it gives a bit of a view. And then we have a risk register. And if we scroll down a bit, I think I assigned one to, no, I haven't assigned them yet. So you can assign them with a CSV. So you can see, hey, who is the owner of this detection? You can see on the team level how many alerts, noisiest by volume. So my test detection, it's running every couple of minutes. And then if we go to alerts overview, so you get a real nice view. Also, if you classify the detections, your detection engineers will also have some information here. And then over here, it's even returning, hey, we had 7,000 alerts. We don't have any true or false positive classification, so go classify them.
Cool. And I would assume, I mean, we don't probably need to do this, but like you make a change and then you would run this again to get an update, right?
Yes. So we can actually do a small quick change. So if we would go to the portal, we can say, hey, let's do my test rule. So basically in the rule logic, this is a test. And we do next, next, next. So now a detection has changed. In the real life, of course, it would be that the detection engineer made some crazy, beautiful KQL, but for now this will work.
Yes.
And then in the morning, we have the drift detection. So basically, this will check both Sentinel, Defender, and see if there's something going on there. Are there any changes? So now it's running. Some nice Python, a bit hopping around, doing the login. Login works, that's good. And also this uses the OIDC, so basically the federated credentials we set up. Now within 20-ish more seconds, we have the result. Do a pull request, basically with the change. So here you can see it's creating the pull request, creating some labels, and then some cleanup. And now we're ready. So basically, if we would scroll up in the GitHub, in the pull requests, you see, hey, we have a new pull request. Someone changed the detection. Okay, let's see what it is. But basically, you see, hey, it gets a new template name and the change in the query file. So, and now if we are ready to merge, we can commit it. So we go back to the pull request, say squash and merge. And now we've updated it in the repository. Everything is nice. Next time the drift check runs, it says, hey, it's the same, it's good. You can do the changes, and the same, of course, with Sentinel detections. If you have a unified SOC, it goes over Defender. If you have the Sentinel in a separate or in an old school setup, you can use the REST API. Basically, the pipeline can manage that for you.
So how do you use this? Like, how do you, like, every day, every week? Is there like, okay, only because of an event, I'm now looking into changes? So how would you suggest customers use this?
So basically, if you set this up, if you, after the show, replicate it, configure it, and then you basically, it pulls your configuration. Even if you get it, only give it read permissions, you get the current state of your environment. If something breaks, if someone modifies it, you can later on bring it back. So that would be do it right away. And if you're comfortable, if you, of course, you should always read code, what you're going to use, review it a bit, put it on enabled, and then you can use it to track changes. At first, you can use it just, hey, someone changed it. You look in it maybe every day, every week, and then accept the changes. And then if you want to go a step further, then you would say, hey, let's basically do the detection engineering from this page, use VS Code or whatever to make the changes. And then you use this as your primary platform. And that way, you know, hey, who changed my detection? When did it change? You can even use the RBAC to make sure that no one can break your Sentinel rules without you knowing it. Because then you tell.
Well, so basically, Gianni, our call to action for our audience is check it out. So there will be a link in the description for this repro. It was also pretty simple. Sec M8, and then I think ContentOps. And they can also probably reach you through GitHub if there is any questions or something like that, if they have feedback or arrows or anything. Yeah, so that would be my call to action. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one. Send messages through here. Also, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's X, anywhere on the socials, hit me up. And also, if you have feedback, let me know.
Perfect. So, Gianni, thank you so much for being today on this episode. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And I hope I'll see you all soon. Ciao.
Ciao, arrivederci.